Okay, welcome to another one of our Happy History stops, where we celebrate heroes who haven't killed anybody. And we're at the memorial to Samuel Plimsoll, who was a sterling character. Now, actually, in Jewish and Islamic text, it says if you save the life of one person, it's as if you had saved the whole world. And this guy saved the lives of thousands of seamen. He was born in 1824 and he died in 1898, I think. Yeah, in the 1890s. He was born in Bristol, dropped out of school quite early, and he moved to Sheffield, and he worked in a brewery, and he actually became the manager. He was a very, clever, naturally clever, hard-working person. And then he moved down to London, and he had he put his money into becoming a coal merchant, but that business failed, and he found himself destitute in London, a little bit like I think of George Orwell, Down and Out in Paris and London, and he was staying in very poor accommodation with the lowest of the low, if you like. And this gave him a real empathy for the underclass, if you like, and it stayed with him all his life. However, he managed to pull himself up. He became an MP, and at one point he was asked to investigate the overloading of ships and look into this question. And he actually wrote a book entitled Our Seamen. Now, this book, Our Seamen, highlighted the case of coffin ships, because in years gone by, if people invested their capital in a load on a ship, it was a very risky undertaking. But in East London, insurance by the Lloyd's Company started to take off, and investing in these loads was not so risky. But people went the other way, and a lot of these ships, they were overloaded and over-insured. In many cases, the ships were worth more at the bottom of the sea than they were on top of the sea. And the sailors were playing Russian roulette. And in fact, a lot of these sailors, they actually wrote to Queen Victoria, highlighting their plight. And some of them were actually imprisoned for, not fulfilling their duties at sea. Samuel Plimsoll, together with his wife, behind every good man there's always a good woman, together they worked on this project. And in the fullness of time, an act was put forward in Parliament. Now, Samuel Plimsoll felt it wasn't quite enough, but he thought, at least it's something. In fact, if we look down here, we can see an example of the Plimsoll line. And this is what he wanted, really, a mark to say, if a ship is so heavily loaded it goes below that line, it's not fit for the sea. And this is what he wanted. Now, we've always had marks like this. The Venetians actually had it, and it was in the shape of a cross. And that cross, the sign of salvation, was salvation in two ways, really. But this is what the Venetians had, and Lloyd's actually had a similar thing, but it was optional. So he was there, okay, right, this is working, and then Disraeli objected. Businessmen are always pressurizing politicians, and a lot of these politicians, they were actually ship owners themselves. They go, oh, it's health and safety gone mad, we can't have this. And Samuel just completely lost it. And he shook his fist at the speaker, and he called everybody in the house villains. And he was called, Disraeli wanted him seriously disciplined and perhaps ejected from the house. But somebody else stood up for him. He actually went back and apologized. And he was accepted, his line was accepted and actually became law. And I think they were kind of shamed into it, because you can imagine the the press government would have brought down on themselves if it had been shown that they had refused this basic human right, really. But actually, if we look down at the line itself, there are different levels, because water has different buoyancies. So in the Arctic, they will not be able to load them so heavily, but in the southern, warmer, saltier seas, the level will be at a different point. Anyway, he was really, really loved, and in fact, this memorial here was put up by grateful seamen for the work that he has done. Now, a shoe was named after him. And they say, you know, the Plimsoll shoe, I remember in my youth when I went to school, when we had gym lessons, we had to put these Plimsolls on. And they said that the Plimsoll looked like the line. I can't quite see it myself, but... and the other thing is, I remember, you know, growing up in the 70s, there was a series on TV called the Oneiden Line. And they tell the story in one of their series about Samuel Plimsoll. He features in it. And also there is a song, a ballad, the Ballad of Samuel Plimsoll. It's almost like a sea shanty where they sing the story about Samuel Plimsoll and how he stood up for the seamen in this country. Well, anyway, there you have the story of Samuel Plimsoll. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please look out for some more videos.